What's up, guys? Hey, welcome back to the Chiss Ascendancy, a Star Wars podcast. Star Wars thoughts from wild space. This is episode 6, and maybe you're wondering, what's all this right in front of my face? Well, each of these authors has something to do with something really cool, new, and important, and that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about the recently announced new line in the chronological line of things that are going to be released upcoming in Star Wars. And this is the High Republic. They're also calling it Project Luminous.
Yeah, Project Luminous was kind of like the FBI code name. And so they've taken the cover off, and the High Republic is the official what we're doing. Okay? So we're going to jump into that today, break some concept art down and stuff like that, and we'll go from there. All right?
Let's do it.
So the first thing we're going to do, as I move these books out from right in front of my face, is we're going to kind of watch and react to Star Wars released a High Republic announcement trailer. And so it's basically a sizzle reel, no new film.
Yeah.
But it's a very cool inside look into the thought process behind Project Luminous, a.k.a. the High Republic, and kind of how they arrived at this place.
Right.
So we're going to watch that, and then we'll break it down.
And I think it's, though there's no new footage, no new scenes that I was like, are they already shooting stuff? Because they actually haven't announced any films or anything.
Yeah, so this is, for those of you who are, the more casual fan or haven't really dived into if you haven't dived into this concept, basically they said for this little chunk of time they want to put books, comics, the literature side of Star Wars back at the forefront.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting for me personally.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fans out there that they like the movies and that's all they know, and that's totally cool. That's your thing. But I know for Samuel and me, we both really, really love the books.
Right.
And some of the best books have come from those periods of time in between. You had the Thrawn trilogy, which was what brought Star Wars back to the forefront of everyone's minds in the early 90s after Return of the Jedi was done. And then all the Legends stuff, probably our favorite series, especially our favorite singular book, is Darth Bane Path of Destruction.
Right.
And that was born out of a time after Revenge of the Sith was gone and done, and we didn't think there was any more Star Wars. And so something that Alex from Star Wars Explained mentioned is that everything that's been published since Disney purchased Lucas is that everything's kind of been towards these movies. Whether it's, even if it's a different era because of Rogue One or Solo, everything's kind of pushed towards the movies that are coming out. And so now we're getting content that is just there for its own sake, and I think that it'll be maybe not better. I don't want to poo-poo on the stuff that we've gotten, because we've gotten some really good stuff, but I think it will help. It's a completely clean slate. We've never talked about this time before, and so we're excited. So let's watch this thing.
Let's do it.
Cool jingle bells.
We're finding ourselves at a very exciting moment with the Skywalker saga coming to an end. We're at a place of what's next for Star Wars.
I'm glad that's how I feel about it.
Able to use our franchise platforms to explore the creative potential of the Star Wars galaxy. And so what if publishing was more of an incubation place and bring in great talent and just let their imaginations run free?
I'm jealous.
Put together a really unique writer's room where we had diverse voices with very different opinions about Star Wars.
We all love Star Wars, but we're all coming in from very different places.
This has been a very free environment for everybody to just throw things out
There
there.
she is, the master.
We've all done lots of storytelling, but this is unique and really special.
The idea that this thing has been simmering for so long.
What was the secret history of the galaxy?
Yep, that goes way back to the beginning of Star Wars.
We gave them essentially a blank slate. What would you like to tell?
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice.
A line that we've been hearing since 1977, and we thought, what does that look like?
It is a golden age where there's much more peace and calm in the galaxy. So we're calling it the High Republic.
The description that we've used for the Jedi of this era is that they are the Jedi Knights of the Round Table.
There's another cross guard.
But Star Wars
Looks like
isn't
it might be
just
the
about
same saber.
Jedi, and we will tell stories of new smugglers, new scoundrels, new bounty hunters.
The threat and the tension really comes from the Republic's borders, because the Republic does not extend from one side of the galaxy to the other.
It's a bit of a Wild West new frontier. We see a different kind of Jedi that patrols the frontiers and is more of a Texas Ranger.
We're in.
We're now bringing in concept artists, illustrators, and
Chuck?
visualists, the same way that you would when you're making a movie.
We even had Ian McKay come down and just do sketch after sketch for us. When you have the guy who designed the look for Darth Maul sketching Jedi for you, it doesn't get any cooler than this.
Sick.
The scale of this initiative is really new for us. We're going to have stories for adults and teens and kids.
We're building this out simultaneously across multiple publishers. It gives us the ability to tell vast interconnected stories across multiple years. There will be a core group of heroes that will expand over time. There'll be villains.
Was that
Our
a
main
evil
villain
Gungan?
are the group
I was gonna
of
say, what do we get a
Denial.
bad-
Kind of like
bad
to think of
Gungan?
them as space Vikings.
Depending upon your
Can't take
point
it
of view, they're all
We
terrible.
can take it from you.
There's the guy that plays in freaking Jabba's palace.
Our story starts with what we're calling the Great Disaster.
It wouldn't be Star Wars without adventure. And there's definitely a series of events that will spin the galaxy into a dangerous new direction, and it will give the opportunity for heroes to rise up.
Wookiee Jedi.
The cool thing about this is that there's going to be a story for every Star Wars fan. It's really fun to be able to keep readers on their toes. This era is ripe for storytelling. The eureka moment was the question, what scares the Jedi? And that made us all go, ooh, something wicked
Sand.
this way comes.
Well,
All right.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we've got a little list of things to get to. So, let's just unpack what we were thinking. We tried to talk as little as we could. I had to say something about sand, but so what are your thoughts, Samuel, about what we see? I do like that they're excited about this period of time because it's definitely a glass half full perspective.
Well, and I think my favorite takeaway, barring all, what I want to speculate about the upcoming content or how they want to expand on this concept of the Jedi Knights of the Round Table, because just mythologically, that's, a huge statement.
Sure.
But I liked that their thought was take it back to the very first thing we ever heard about the Jedi.
Right.
And then build from there. I think that's a beautiful idea.
Through the 1,000 generations.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And it really shows that there's integrity in their story building.
Mm-hmm.
There's, it's a thoughtful perspective. They're not just trying to crap out content. They're trying to build something worthwhile. They're trying to build something that will be substantive. It's not just they're not just trying to do 7, 8, 9. Crap them out there. Put a solo movie while we're waiting. Put a Rogue One movie while we're waiting. Which don't get me wrong. Obviously, I love those movies. But my point is they're trying to build something new, and I enjoy the idea that there are no expectations tied to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're giving us things that obviously they're excited about, so we're going to be excited about because those are the things they're hyping up.
Right.
But at the same time, we have no idea where this is going. We have no idea, beyond some of the names and the concept artists and the authors, we don't know where it's going. So those are things I'm really excited about just because it's new ground. I'm always, if I see a hill, I'm always wondering what's on the other side of it, and then I'll see what's on the other side of it, and I'll wonder what's on the other side of that. I'm constantly what's up there?
Yeah.
So that's what this is for me conceptually.
Yeah. I think I have so many questions.
Yeah.
But I really like that they're talking about the High Republic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my immediate thought is, now that I'm thinking about it, if this is the High Republic and this is the peak, this is the paramount that we've gotten to, does everything end on a downward note?
See, and that's
Does
what
that make sense?
Yeah, no, I definitely get what you're saying.
If this is the peak, and 200 years later we get the Phantom Menace,
right,
and it's not the peak,
right,
we're down.
Well, and I
there's
think
a shroud of the dark side. You know what I'm saying? Is there a downward trend?
I think maybe it's because obviously
that was
there's
kind of cool.
Political unrest leading up to Episode 1, but I think that Episode 1 itself really demonstrates the drop. You know what I mean? Like that's the step down from the High Republic. But I am excited to see the Jedi at their best. You know what I mean? Because especially as a kid, the Jedi are hyped up. They're talked about, like as what you would aspire to be if you're a Star Wars fan. But here lately, the Jedi have kind of gotten
a poo-poo.
Yeah, it's like you meet your heroes and you're disappointed. Where they're like, they're actually kind of selfish, or they're actually they're kind of prideful, or they think so much of themselves that that was their greatest downfall.
Yeah, it's interesting because the original trilogy just builds up the legend of who the Jedi are, but really you see cool things, but you spend a lot of time looking at staring straight in the face of the bad side of the fallacy side of the Jedi, and we never really get to see Yoda's super powerful, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan, all those guys super powerful. But we never really get to see them at their full potential because there's a giant wet curtain of dark side over them the entire time. And then once the prequel trilogy was done, you get Clone Wars, and you kind of get to see some cool action. But as far as their potential, then you get to Episode 7, and Rey doesn't really know what she's doing. You get to the very end of Episode 7, and you see Luke, and you're like, now we're getting to the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
And you buckle up, and it's like, time to unbuckle, the movie's over. And you're like, oh, I just buckled up. And then you wait 2 years, and Luke Skywalker hates everyone and everything. And I get that they're portraying the human side of Luke, but it was just kind of like, we only have him for so long, there's only 2 more movies. I wanted to see some crazy stuff. And, the Force projection was really cool, but he's definitely he's still hurting. He's still not himself. And then you kind of get some good Jedi stuff in 9 from Rey. And, of course, the Force ghosts and the voices and things like that. But maybe these characters are going to just be on a different level if they're at their peak.
Yeah, I have... And now that especially since, movie technology is so far and, for fighting choreography has come so far, I would love to see the kind of stuff that you read about, with Revan or Satele Shan, just this otherworldly powerful Jedi with the best of intention.
Right.
Revan, obviously, spoken of loosely in that regard, but
he's good whenever he has his memory wiped.
Right. Speaking of new releases stuff, I do think it's interesting that, we talked about this, we didn't want to have to make another rendering for Revan's face, but I thought it was interesting that they put Revan with the Jedi robes with his helmet, because
his new Black Series figure?
Yeah, because his helmet kind of, just represented everything that was, for him, his dark side. He was scared to even touch it for a while.
I think that one of the reasons that they did that was because that series, the heavy battle droid Revan, and now just recently revealed as the 501st, or not 501st, the Stormtrooper commander from Force Unleashed. The blue and white got me there for a second. But that line is a GameStop exclusive, and those are called gaming greats. And so I think the reason that he has his mask is because in the game Galaxy of Heroes, it's a Star Wars game on your phone, he has the light robes with his mask.
Gotcha.
So the lack of continuity, or I guess honestly at this point, whatever they say is now the truth.
I don't know.
But
I just
I know what you're saying.
Anyway,
all they had to do was go get a John Wick toy.
All that aside, anyway, not what we came to talk about.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really excited with that. I think it's kind of cool that looking at some of the concept art for the Nile, the masks and stuff. I played Borderlands a lot, so that's kind of what I think of.
Very Mad Max looking.
Yeah, just kind of like apocalyptic, like goggles, masks, kind of like the bad guys from Legend of Korra. It's just like steampunk. You know what I mean? It's been unpacked for a very long time.
Space Vikings, and you made a really good point. It's going to be interesting, and this is what is going to be really cool about books side of things is that you can just spend 2 pages describing why these guys are the way they are. But we've already had space pirates.
Right,
there's Hondo, and then in Resistance, you haven't seen Resistance yet. But there's a whole group that's like very ragtag, heavy metal, spikes on their shoulder pads, guys. Made up of Quarren and Trandoshians and crap like that. And so it's going to be very interesting. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what makes these guys stand out.
Right. Well, that's when I heard Space Pirates, I was like, or Space Vikings rather, I'm just like, and? So I'm interested to see the differentiating factor, especially since when they were announcing them, they're like, we wanted to make them very different from the Empire. And the First Order, and I'm like, well, yeah, obviously, because they're not at all the same thing. Right. But also, I want to see what the difference maker is. Yeah. When I first heard it, I thought maybe it was going to be like a whole new species, almost, like with the Thrawn trilogy. We've got the Brisk, they're being unpacked.
In the Legends, you have the Yuuzhan Vong.
Exactly.
But it's not a species, it's a group.
It's a group, and I saw that, and I was like, so...
But I trust them. Yeah. If there's 5 people I trust, it's these 5.
Right. Justina Ireland is going to be called A Test of Courage.
Test of Courage. And so the picture, I'm going to go ahead and... Sorry, I'm pulling my phone out. But I'm going to go ahead and look at this.
It looks more cartoonish, more along the lines of what we would see in Resistance.
Super cool, though. You've got at least 2 Jedi. One looks like Gamora here in the front. Mm-hmm. And then you've got Homeboy with the cape there in the middle. And then there's a couple of, looks like non-Jedi. And then in the corner there, you've got
the lightsaber droid.
Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah.
So that's really neat.
I think it's cool they brought him back since he was talking about how, like 1,000 generation of Jedi.
Yep. He's been around for a bajillion years. So she's doing that middle grade so that, elementary, middle school age. I guess young adults is middle school. So that elementary age book. So that's Miss Justina Ireland. So she's part 1. And then next is Claudia Gray.
Claudia Gray, she's going to be doing Into the Dark, which I like this title just because, for me, there's something cathartic about watching some dark powers just get unleashed.
Right.
I assume it's just an allusion to the dark that they'll be battling, but... Right. I like the title. I love Claudia's work.
All I need to say is this.
Yeah.
And if you're just listening to audio, I just held up Lost Stars, which was a young adult book released on the way to The Force Awakens. Amazing, amazing book. I remember thinking, I don't want to buy this because it's a young adult book, and I just thought it was going to be for kids.
Yeah.
And then I kept hearing good things. So I bought it, read it, listened to it. It was fantastic. And then next... I think most recently, she wrote Master and Apprentice.
I think I've read that book 3 times now.
And so...
I loved it.
It's really, really good. The audio version, of course, is very good as well, but that kind of breaks down Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's relationship, our 2 favorite Jedi.
Yep.
And so she's going to be doing Into the Dark. It looks like a young adult novel as well. And so she always does a fantastic job. So she's at the top of my list.
Based on the cover art and her past work, it's going to be somewhere between young adult and adult.
Right.
But since they've specifically said that they're trying to reach an audience, it's probably going to be young adult.
Right.
And then the last one, writing a novel.
Well, let's save that one for last because that's the newest. That's the first one coming out.
Okay.
So we can really break it down. Moving on to comics. I think it's Cavan, is that how you say
Cavan
it?
Scott.
Cavan. Scott is writing Star Wars: The High Republic.
Yeah. And it's got kind of some interesting stuff going on.
Yeah. It's very, like you said, very steampunk.
Yeah. We got, a Twi'lek over here on the right, on the left. Looks kind of like a Zabrak, but...
You can't really tell.
You can't. There's no way.
And you can't tell because they're wearing, for those of you especially who are just doing audio, they're just wearing these crazy masks. And at the press conference that they did a couple of days ago, they said that the masks are very much a part of the gang. It's a big part of who they are. So I'm sure they'll unpack that a bit. But the work on this is amazing. In my experience, I know Kevin Scott is kind of a comics kind of guy. But my main experience with Kevin Scott is Dooku Jedi Lost.
Which was great.
Which was so good. It was written as an audio drama. But I liked it so much by listening to it that I actually went and bought the paper version.
Yeah, which I think
which has a super cool layout where it's laid out like a play almost, like an audio drama.
Yeah, very much like a Cursed Child.
So yeah, very, very cool. And so he's going to be doing that, and then Daniel Jose Older is going to be doing.
Yeah, It's going to be. It says the High Republic, but I think it's Differentiators Adventures.
Yeah. And so this one looks a little bit more young adult.
Yeah, for sure.
And
there's a little bit more because there's some of the... It's what's being printed, but it looks conceptual in the fact that there's some writing, there's some
it kind of looks... It reminds me of the art style of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, pretty similar.
Comics.
Pretty similar. A little bit more realistic.
It looks... But the classic, like especially in the comic style, it reminds me of... It looks like it's drawn on old paper with a dip... with an ink pen.
Yeah.
So that's super cool. Something that I noticed, and maybe I am just swinging from left field here.
Yeah.
But if you can see this picture, I'm sure you can look it up. But Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures by Daniel Jose Older. There's a character here on the left, and
it looks like they're calling him Farzala.
Now here's the thing.
You're really close to a pre-existing character from the Bane novel.
Right. Jedi Farfalla. And Farfalla was very unique because he was a hybrid of a Bothan and a human. And so the reason that I have a specific interest in this is obviously because we haven't seen a dadgum Bothan in canon yet, so that sucks. But Farzala, one, that name is super close. To Farfalla. Yeah. And also, he looks like a dadgum Bothan.
He looks like he could be a halvesies. Right. He also maybe looks, though, like he could
got,
be...
the cat ears with the little beard.
What species is Zeb? What are they called?
Oh, man, you put me on the spot. He's way too small to be one of those, though.
But I'm saying if he was one of those and a Bothan...
Maybe.
Because Zeb's not furry either. So...
You can't really tell by the animation.
He looks kind of furry.
This guy looks furry for sure.
Yeah.
Man, what is Zeb? God dang it, you did that to me. So, I know his full name is Garazeb Aurelius Lasat. He does kind of have the ears of a Lasat, but the nose is different.
Exactly, but...
Dang. Maybe
he's
he looks kind of feline to me.
Maybe he's like some sort of like double halvesies. Bothan Lasat. Human. He's got a human nose.
We're going to get into
got the fur. I don't know. It's Star Wars.
Okay, so lastly, I know we kind of went novels, comics, back to novels, but lastly...
Yeah, so we've got Claudia Gray,
Soule.
Justine Ireland, and Charles Soule is writing what appears to me to be like the headliner.
Yeah. So Charles Soule, what's cool about him is he is very much a comics guy. Charles Soule wrote, when the comics were first coming out under Marvel for Star Wars, he wrote the 5-piece Lando comic, and this of the little short comics, the little 5-piecers, was my favorite. Just super cool, super crazy looking, just all kinds of stuff. So if you haven't read this, I encourage you to get it. But Charles Soule wrote this. Charles Soule is the author behind The Rise of Kylo Ren. So parts 1 through 3 are out. Part 4 is coming out next month. And it's, or this month in March. And so he is just fantastic. And so I'm very interested to see what he does with the novel. Yes. But since Kevin Scott is comics based and he wrote Dooku Jedi Lost, which was an amazing write, so I'm very interested.
Yeah, I really want to look at this one. And as far as we know, I think this is the one we have the most information about because he's kind of given us, first of all, cover art super cool. I like that they're bringing in, we saw the yellow lightsaber.
Right.
Obviously at the end of Rise of Skywalker, but while we're talking about Farfalla, kind of, he had a golden lightsaber, which to me is a different description than yellow. But if you look in the concept art by Phil Noto, it's the same Twi'lek that's on the cover of Light of the Jedi, like and it looks way more golden.
This Twi'lek looks green, and on Light of the Jedi, man, it's kind of hard to tell. It's like a greenish blue.
Yeah, it's this. I think it's the same guy, especially since it's like the exact same lightsaber color.
Look at that guy's weird, like, I can't tell if it's part of his clothes or if he has a crazy, like a musketeer cover on his handle. You see that?
Whomst?
The Twi'lek. Look, right here.
I'm looking.
It's like a musketeer cover on his handle.
Yeah, forget. I can't tell.
But from, I guess we'll go right to left from this concept art from Phil Noto.
Yeah, looks definitely
right.
Definitely a handguard.
A little handguard. On the far right, you've got a weird looking, almost like a black lightsaber. I assume it's not the dark saber, but super cool. Then next to that individual is a
looks like a Trandoshan.
So that would be super cool. Two Zabraks back to back.
I think they're going to be twin brothers. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, it does look like they're very similar. And then you've got, I guess it looks like a Powin. Same species as the Grand Inquisitor. And he's got a double-bladed green lightsaber, so that's dope. Human in the middle. Twi'lek now going left with that cool golden lightsaber. Cool hipster Jedi there that's too cool to ignite his lightsaber like everybody else. He's just kind of like floating it in midair.
Yeah, that's holding it.
And then you've got, that doesn't look like a human. The next two look kind of like a very humanoid but different species. And then Samuel, you pointed out.
Yeah, chick far left, she looks like she has a light side version of Dark Ray's double blade lightsaber.
Yeah,
it's like collapsed in half right now. It's got those two thinner blades right close to each other.
And then hiding down here in the left corner.
This little Loth Wolf.
A Loth Wolf.
Okay, here's a better look at the guy. He looks like a Utapauan down here with his eye mask.
His face looks different in that one.
Yeah, freaking. I think it might be a different guy because this looks like a different group of Jedi. We've got now a blue Twi'lek, female, but she has a purple lightsaber. Daggum, this looks like it's the same human, but we can't confirm because no lightsaber ignition. We got the typically a musician. What are they?
Bith.
Bith. That's right.
And then this, I don't know what this species is here in the middle. It's green with horns.
Yeah, that's a new one for me.
Interesting. So moving on from that, hopefully you can see that concept art. But here's a description from Charles Soule himself on Twitter, kind of breaking down the cover of the book. Okay, it says, the cover to The Light of the Jedi, the novel that kicks off the massive new Star Wars initiative, The High Republic, aka #Project Luminous. It's the Jedi story I've been writing since I was 6 years old. Now, here's what's cool about that. When you're 6, Jedi can do freaking anything.
Right.
So, obviously, we have our favorites, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Luke, those people. Mm-hmm. But these Jedi have an opportunity here to do something ridiculous. Right. So, hopefully, this is just off the chain. Okay, it says, yes, that is a Wookiee Jedi. His name is Briaga Agaburi, and he is wonderful. This is the first Wookiee I've ever seen have two names. Chewbacca, Tarful, all those guys, they all have one name. Is there another one?
No, yeah, no. Yeah, interesting. I didn't think about
that. So maybe that's very cool.
I think the little Padawan Wookiee we had in the Clone Wars only had one name as well.
Yeah. So that I can think of, there's never been a Wookiee with two names, first and last. And then it says, the lady in front is named Avar Chris. And that's the blonde young lady there with the cool green lightsaber. And it says the other folks have names too, but you'll meet them later more soon. And so Light of the Jedi, the novel by Charles Soule, is the first thing that we're going to get. And it's coming out on August 25th, I believe.
Yep.
And so, super, super cool. I'm super excited about it. And I love Star Wars novels. And so there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I thought it was going to be a movie or a TV show. But I'm all about the novels.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. Comics, all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited.
And here's one thing we're definitely going to talk about and speculate because you and I, one of our favorite things to do is tons and tons and tons of times, Josiah and I have just like, for, I don't know, half an hour sometimes just been like, what do you think about this? And that'll, just tree branch out into a bunch of different things. So if we look at our fine master Wookiee, he's holding a lightsaber, has a cross guard, but it's not a lightsaber like Kylo's cross guard.
There's no blades coming out.
It's a purely metal cross guard. We see this lightsaber held by a few other Jedi in the trailer.
Right, or at least that style.
It's very distinctive. It doesn't seem like something. If you're going to come up with something this special, you're not going to give it to everybody. I think it's going to be like a revisiting, kind of like a Darksaber concept.
Yeah.
Of this kind of just getting passed down. And something that I was informed of by Josiah, would you like to share this bit of info about the lightsaber?
Sure. So something that I heard, again, watching different videos and following up on the announcement, it was weird because they didn't do a live stream of the announcement, so you pretty much were just listening to what other people who were invited said. But they said that basically when they were talking about this lightsaber specifically, that it had a very much,
there seems to be a certain level of prestige attached to this lightsaber.
Yeah, and I can't remember the name of the sword.
The sword from Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, all those stories, is Excalibur.
There you go. And they said that it was very much an Excalibur type weapon.
Yeah.
Now, what's weird about Excalibur that we were talking about is that it has
certain magical properties.
Yeah.
It was, and if you've watched, it's obviously different types of myths, different attributions of special powers or whatever. But, some say it can, kill dragons. That's a special property of certain weapons, depending on, your dragon mythology. But, regardless, if you're reading about Excalibur, there's some sort of special...
There's something different about it.
There's some mystique surrounding it. There's some sort of mystery. There's some sort of legend attached to that weapon.
Now, what's weird for me is, what I know more about than Excalibur is the Elder Wand from Harry Potter.
Right.
And it's supposed to be the most powerful wand. But... it's kind of like it's up to the user how powerful it is or isn't.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. Well, and it's to me, it also, if we're going to use wand lore, the wand chooses the wizard, right? So it's we know that kyber crystals form a bond. That's what gives them their color now. Is there something about this lightsaber that's living that responds to certain Jedis, one over the other? If there's just one per generation that can wield it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just when the word Excalibur gets thrown out, there's a lot of questions that follow.
Sure. And maybe I guess it does lend to the fact that because they're saying that these are the Jedi that are similar to the Knights of the Round Table, but Excalibur only responds to one owner.
Yeah, only responds to Arthur. He was the only one that could pull it out of the sword, or out of the rock, rather.
So does this Jedi is it a whoever holds this is now the Grand Master type of thing? Who knows?
Right.
But that will.
Well, and you would think if he was Grand Master, he'd be in the front, but maybe it's just a little bit of deception. I don't know, dude.
There's just so much going on.
Yeah.
And the robes look dope. The robes look very much like.
It feels like maybe this is a special group or something, because as far as I know, golden robes has never been part of it.
Well, what they were saying was...
I know the Temple Guardians kind of had golden robes.
What they were saying during the event, and things that I've read and heard since then, is that the golden attire is very much for those who are near the center of the Republic at this time.
Gotcha. So maybe this is the robes of a council member. Right.
Could be. Something that is later, because if you look at the cover for High Republic Adventures,
they've got kind of more standardized Jedi robes.
More out there, and something that was very interesting was they said that...
At least in color. And all these Jedi here...
They look more normal.
Yeah, they're more normal robes.
But again, that's concept art, so who knows?
Yeah.
Something that was very interesting was they said that the Republic maybe isn't as large as we know it from previous history. And so the question is... they're saying the threat, the Nile, these new group of space Vikings that are coming out, maybe they're infringing on the edge of known Republic space. And so the response is that the Jedi are sent out to the fringe. And so you have the Jedi that have kind of the golden look, which is what we've seen on the cover of the novel that Charles Soule is writing. But there are other styles that are more, they were described as Texas Rangers. That's what Pablo Hidalgo says in the trailer. So maybe those are the more rugged folks that are kind of, keeping folks in line.
Yeah. I don't know, man. There's just so much to speculate about, so much to unpack. We're probably all going to be wrong.
At least now we're starting we have the podcast now, so we can actually go back and look and see either how wrong
Or
every
how
once in a
right
while
we
how
were.
right we are. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that. So that's the High Republic. Okay, so we've kind of broken down things that we know.
Yeah.
But let's really get crazy with it.
Okay, the last big question we haven't even breathed at. Where's Yoda? He's 800 years old when he dies.
He's 900 years old.
900, sorry.
Yeah, Return of the Jedi. When 900 years old you look.
Correct.
Or you are. Look this good.
That means he was at least like 650, 700 at this point in time.
Yeah.
So is he already on the Jedi Council? Is he already Grandmaster Jedi? I mean, you think...
I don't think he would be Grand Master.
He's 750 years old, though. Or six...
Yeah,
six,
I mean, I can
like,
see
he's
it.
been around for a very long time. He's
Yeah.
obviously going to be incredibly powerful.
Dude, think
he
about
probably
this
hasn't
line.
picked up his gaffy stick yet.
Think about this.
His gimmer stick, I think is what they call it.
Gaffy sticks is
I know, it's
Tuscans. Think about this. In episode 2, 3?
Pretty sure they call it a gimmer stick. Sorry, I'm still calling it.
Yoda tells Mace Windu, I think it's... No. Mace Windu says to Yoda, I think it's time that we alert the Senate that our ability to use the Force has lessened.
Mm.
So, they know that they're capable of more. So, if we do get Yoda, he is going to be off the chain.
Right. Well, and I think he's saying that more in reference to the Shroud of the Dark Side.
Right.
Because that's something that they haven't encountered in several generations of Jedi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For them, the Sith was an eliminated adversary as far as
Right.
they knew.
And also, here's an interesting question. Not to jump away from Yoda,
Mm-hmm.
but it's an interesting question to wonder, are there going to be... Okay, so Darth Bane sets up the rule of 2.
Right.
And we know that these like space hobo Viking crazy folks are the Nile. They're the ones that are coming in and really messing stuff up. But I wonder if somehow Sith will be behind the wheel. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's what I mean by that.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Is that maybe he just never gets caught, or she never gets caught, or whatever.
Right.
It would be cool to have a Darkseid character in there that is like,
Yeah.
Moriarty that never gets busted.
Yeah.
Because when Darth Maul and eventually Darth Sidious are talked about in the Phantom Menace, it says it's the first Sith they've dealt with for a millennia, which is 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
So even before this, it's been 800 years.
Yeah, but there's still that, line of Jedi Sith going all the way back to Bane. You know what I mean? And
so they're for sure, they're out there.
Yeah. Well, and we know it's not canon, but conceptually, I'm pretty sure this would be something that'd be foolish to throw out. Is that Bane has this vast network, of both resources and contacts, and he's constantly inciting things for the Republic to deal with just to keep their attention off of him.
Right. And that's very much a Darth Plagueis thing to do as well.
Well, and it's like, it looks like that's something that was also passed on, the responsibility of manipulating this network.
Right.
Because to be able to do as much as they do, and to be able to do it without actually being noticed, implies a great amount of resources, a great amount of social power.
Yeah.
In control. And so it would be very cool to me if, they would build all this up, and then at the end, mind blown, we see that Sith Masters have been pulling the strings behind the scenes all this time.
And what's so beautiful about a book is that you can have, in a movie, you can't portray emotions other than the acting.
Exactly.
And things like that. So in a book, you can totally have...
those introspective moments, or
you can have
side thoughts.
You can have somebody you're even reading about the Sith that are pulling the strings. And so I don't know, just some cool thoughts there. So man, it's crazy because it's brand new, but there's enough there that we're a little fenced in.
Yeah.
We're not going to see the Chiss because they're brand new.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to see, they can't fight the Sith head on because they're brand new, and we're too far. It's not far enough back to be the Old
Republic Jedi or Sith. Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
Smart move, because this era.
Wide open.
Yeah, hasn't been approached at all. There was only like forever ago and now, basically.
Yep. So it's very interesting. So Light of the Jedi comes out August 25th. And they've said we're going to get a lot more of information between now and then. And so maybe they'll talk about what are the intentions of, because these space Vikings, something that's very, known history, known lore about the Vikings is that they were just professional pillagers.
Right. Well, and
they would just go and they'd have the faster
and they
ship,
conquest.
literally.
Yeah.
And they were just all about, if you want it and I want it, I'm taking it.
It's Rocket Raccoon. He's like, doesn't track. I want it more.
Yeah.
It's mine now.
Yeah. So,
well, and that would make sense if the Republic is smaller and they're supposed to be Vikings. Vikings conquest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a real threat to the Republic that's trying to establish, a wider range of order. Vikings is kind of like the perfect group.
And I wonder what it's kind of weird because Vikings are like, we're doing it because we're doing it. I just want to know what's the bigger picture. For the Jedi, it's peace for everyone in the galaxy.
Yeah.
But for these Nile, are they trying to take over? Right. Or is there a corner of space that they want? And Charles Soule said there's going to be something called the Great...
Disappointment?
The Great Disaster.
Okay.
And that just opens up,
kind
of where we start. So, who even knows?
Dude. Well, and it's like... we know conceptually from the Clone Wars especially, where we see those, like the perfect epitome of luminous beings, to use Yoda's phraseology, basically the embodiment of the light side, the dark side, and the balance, and the Father. And so we kind of understand from that for every...
Sorry, that's our timer.
For every... good thing that's going on, the dark side's pulling strings through people, not even Force users necessarily, to try and either assert dominance or make sure that the light doesn't get too strong.
Right.
So I'm interested to see if they incorporate that ideology at all.
Yeah. These guys might be the super bads, but then they end up being pawns.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? I think part of this is we're having a hard time wrapping our mind around the fact that there's a bad guy that is the main group of villains that doesn't have a dark side user pulling the strings.
Yeah.
It's just that's been Star Wars forever.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting. So new stuff coming up. So the High Republic, it's brand new. It's coming out. Information's coming out all the time. And so now especially that we're utilizing Instagram and YouTube to do more than just the weekly podcast. As information comes out, we want to get that to you guys. But I think that concludes our episode for this week.
Yeah, that's more than what we even really have.
Project Luminous was unveiled.
Yeah.
The High Republic, and information's coming out. And even if nothing else comes out,
I'm stoked.
It's March, and we only have April, May, June, July to wait.
Yeah, less than half
August. Yeah. So it's going to be exciting. So we'll see you guys next time. May the Force be with you.
And remember, the only family you have here is me.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
What's up, guys? Hey, we hope you liked this episode of the Chiss Ascendancy. If you enjoyed it, please like this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when you get a new video, and then also follow us on Instagram at Chiss Ascendancy Podcast. You can also find an audio-only version on Spotify and Apple Podcasts at the Chiss Ascendancy. We'll see you next time.